right. Today is Monday, August 4th, 2025. It is 8:39 a.m. You know what? Let's move my mic into position and do the audio check and all that good stuff. Let's see. How are my levels? They look all right. They're peaking out between 12 and 18 decibels, which seems reasonable. I can always bump up the gain in post if I need to. Anyway, happy Monday. Let's see. Gathering my thoughts. I had them gathered, and then I clicked record on the video, and they scattered like frightened birds. It is day 12 of my 30-day VO summer project. Day 12. I didn't record a practice session yesterday, and had a moment yesterday when I was feeling kind of stressed about that, bad about that. Not bad, stressed, I think would be more appropriate to describe it. And I thought to myself, no, that's not the point of this project. I should not let this create negative stress for me. Yesterday was Sunday, a weekend. I decided, you know what? It's a family day. And I wasn't idle either. I actually did do an organized audiobook workout through Skills Hub, which I think I have promised before I would drop a link to Skills Hub for curious people to check out, and then forgot to. So hopefully, let me write a note to myself to do that so that I won't forget to, because I have the memory of a goldfish. All right, so link to Skills Hub. Double exclamation point. All right, there we go. So, link to Skills Hub so that I won't forget it. Anyway, so I did an audiobook workout room. It was lightly attended. It started out with 7 people had signed up. One of them didn't show, so it started with 6 of us. I was the last person to read in the group. By the time that I read, there were only 4 people left. And then I finished reading, and one of them just disappeared. Was there to listen, but then left before anybody started giving me feedback. So, of course, me being the socially awkward and insecure person that I am, I immediately started spiraling in my head about did I do something in that read that maybe that person got upset about? Does that person not like me? I wish I didn't worry about stuff like that so much, but as I have said in previous videos, I am a very socially awkward person, and I really have trouble reading people. So I'm always worrying about did I say the right thing? Did I do the right thing? Did I offend someone? It's really hard. Anyway, so that person left, hopefully just because. So that left only 3 people in the workout session to give me feedback on the read. And of course, going into it, I was super nervous because I've been actively trying to work on improving my acting skills and my reading skills since January, maybe. It's been a few months, and when I first started out, I got very consistent feedback that my reading style sounded very formal and nobody ever said robotic, but people would continually say, you sound like you're reading, you sound like you're reading, you sound like you're reading. Don't be so stiff, don't be so formal, relax into it, be more casual, try to imbue it with more emotion, over and over and over again. And I would try. I would honestly try and then get the exact same feedback that I sounded stiff and formal and artificial, and it was discouraging, and it really made me think maybe I just can't. Maybe, not everyone can do everything. There are just things that people can't do. We all have them. Maybe this is one of them for me. So, but, here I have been practicing and listening to myself really intentionally and reflectively and analyzing how I'm doing, pacing, emotions, experiencing the scene instead of just reading the words, trying to improve that. And so yesterday I got into that workout room. They call them workout rooms on Skills Hub. And I am in that group of people, I would say one of the least experienced people, because I don't have a background in theater or improv or any kind of performance stuff. So to put myself out there in front of all of these more talented, more experienced people is very nerve-wracking. And it was a cold read. We didn't prep in advance for it. So I pulled up the sample that I had selected, and I let folks know what I've been working on, which is imbuing the narrative with more energy and authentic emotion. And then I did my reading. And the three, right? So it's not a statistically significant set, but the three people who were in the room to give me feedback gave me very positive feedback. They said I did a great job, and my whole body was so tensed up, oh, did I do it? And then they were like, yeah, that was really good. Oh my gosh, the relief that I felt. I didn't even know how badly I needed to hear that I was making progress until I heard that I was making progress from some hopefully objective listeners. I hope they're objective listeners. I do trust their feedback. So that was very encouraging and very motivating. Really motivated me to keep getting in here and keep doing the work, because I think it's paying off. Now, of course, the piece that I read in that session was a 2 to 3 minute section of a much more contemporary fiction story than The Secret Garden, which was published in 1911. And so for that reason alone, I think it was easier for me to read and connect with, if only because of the writing style and the sentence structure and no Yorkshire accent. Yeah, so it was a darker story too. And I will say that as a reader and a listener and a writer, I'm drawn to darker stuff. I don't know what that says about me, but I naturally am. So maybe reading darker stuff is more in my wheelhouse. I will continue to experiment. But here I'm locked into and will continue reading from The Secret Garden because it's what I have been using. It's also public domain material, so it allows me to post the practice sessions on YouTube without violating any copyright laws or issues. Hold on, I'm grabbing my iPad. And who knows, maybe it's actually good that I'm reading something that is hard. is this? Okay. Right? I mean, it's kind of like, how do you put it? You want to always be trying to push yourself past what you're currently capable of doing. If you only ever do what you can already do, then you will never improve. So as difficult as The Secret Garden is for me to practice read, because of the antiquated, old-fashioned style of writing and the weird way that Frances Burnett Hodgson decided to try and write the diction of the dialogue, which has fallen totally out of favor in modern writing, because it makes it so difficult to actually read it on the page. And then what that weirdly written dialogue is trying to indicate is a really difficult Yorkshire accent. All that is to say, like, I think it's doing good for me. Yeah. So I'm just sort of, I mean, maybe it's silly to be this lifted up by 3 people saying that I did a good job reading a 2 to 3 minute bit of text. But I'm feeling really, really good and hopeful and optimistic from that experience. So yay. Yeah. So I did warm up already. So it is time for me to get into more practice, right? Practice, practice, practice. That's why I'm here. Hold on. And I'm just pulling this closer to myself and taking my glasses off so that I can read it. My new glasses cannot come fast enough. I cannot wait to be able to see clearly again. All right, let's see. What happened in chapter 10? The robin charmed Ben Weatherstaff, and Mary asked a whole bunch of questions about gardening and asked a bunch of nosy questions about roses. And then Ben Weatherstaff got cagey and got mad and gruff and walked away. And then Mary went and met Dickon in the woods and was instantly charmed by his presentation, his wildness. And then she sort of accidentally backed herself into a conversational corner and had to sort of confess about the secret garden to him. And she took him to see it. And that's sort of where the chapter ended, with him looking around and in awe of this garden space that he knew existed, but because it was behind a wall, seemingly without a door to get in, he had never been inside of it, but had always been curious about it. That is a recap of chapter 10. Let me drink a little bit of water to try and get the coffee taste out of my mouth. I'm still drinking way too much coffee. All right. So, goals for today, for my reading: breath control, volume control. Let's see what else. Breath control, volume control. And again, trying to settle into the story and experience it, immerse myself in it, so that I can feel the emotions of the scenes as I'm reading them, so that those emotions will then flow through and be audible in my voice when I read it. I still think that's such a difficult thing to accomplish, which is why I need to remind myself every day of it. Experience it. Oh, and pacing. Continue to work on pacing. All right. Are you ready? Here we go. Chapter 11. The Nest of the Missel Thrush. For 2 or 3 minutes he stood looking round him, while Mary watched him, and then he began to walk about softly, even more lightly than Mary had walked the first time she had found herself inside the 4 walls. His eyes seemed to be taking in everything. The gray trees with the gray creepers climbing over them and hanging from their branches, the tangle on the walls and among the grass, the evergreen alcoves with the stone seats and tall flower urns standing in them. "I never thought I'd see this place," he said at last in a whisper. I don't know what that accent was. Whatever, can't worry about accents right now. "Did you know about it?" asked Mary. She had spoken aloud, and he made a sign to her. "We must talk low," he said, "or someone will hear us and wonder what's to do in here." "Oh, I forgot," said Mary, feeling frightened and putting her hand quickly against her mouth. "Did you know about the garden?" she asked again when she had recovered herself. Dickon nodded. "Martha told me. There was one as no one ever went inside," he answered. "Us used to wonder what it was like." He stopped and looked round at the lovely gray tangle about him. His round eyes looked queerly happy. He stopped and looked round at the lovely gray tangle about him, and his round eyes looked queerly happy. The nests as'll be here come springtime," he said. "It'd be the safest nestin' place in England, no one never comin' near, and tangles of trees and roses to build in. I wonder all the birds on the moor don't build here." Mistress Mary put her hand on his arm again without knowing it. "Will there be roses?" she whispered. "Can you tell? I thought perhaps they were all dead." No, not them, not all of them," he answered. "Look here." He stepped over to the nearest tree, an old, old one with gray lichen all over its bark, but upholding a curtain of tangled sprays and branches. He took a thick knife out of his pocket and opened one of its blades. "There's a lot of dead wood as ought to be cut out," he said, "and there's a lot of old wood, but it made some new last year. This here's a new bit." And he touched a shoot, which looked brownish green instead of hard, dry gray. Mary touched it herself in an eager, reverent way. "That one?" she said. "Is that one quite alive?" Is that one quite... What? Is that one quite alive quite? Do you see why I struggle to read this? Who says that? No one. "Is that one quite alive quite?" Dickon curved his wide, smiling mouth. "It's as wick as you or me," he said. And Mary remembered that Martha had told her that wick meant alive or lively. "Oh, I'm glad it's wick," she cried out in her whisper. "I want them all to be wick. Let us go round the garden and count how many wick ones there are." She quite panted with eagerness, and Dickon was as eager as she was. They went from tree to tree and from bush to bush. Dickon carried his knife in his hand and showed her things which she thought wonderful. "They run wild," he said, "but the strongest ones has fair thrived on it. The delicatest ones has died out, but the others has growed and growed and spread till there's a one." Blah, 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 blah. Let's try that again. The delicatest ones has died out, but the others has growed and spread till they's a wonder. See here." He pulled down a thick, grey, dry-looking branch.
A body might think this was dead wood, but I don't believe it is. Down to the root. I'll cut it low down and see."
He knelt, and with his knife cut the lifeless-looking branch through, not far above the earth.
"There," he said exultantly. "I told thee so. There's green in that wood yet. Look at it."
Mary was down on her knees before he spoke, gazing with all her might.
"When it looks a bit greenish and juicy like that, it's wick," he explained. "When the inside is dry and breaks easily, like this here piece I've cut off, it's done for. There's a big root here, and all this live wood sprung out of. And if the old wood's cut off, and it's dug round and took care of, there'll be—"
He stopped and lifted his face to look up at the climbing and hanging sprays above him.
"There'll be a fountain of roses here this summer."
They went from bush to bush and from tree to tree. He was very strong and clever with his knife, and knew how to cut the dry and dead wood away, and could tell when an unpromising bough or twig had still green life in it. In the course of half an hour, Mary thought she could tell too, and when he cut through a lifeless-looking branch, she would cry out joyfully under her breath when she caught sight of the least shade of moist green. The spade and hoe and fork were very useful. He showed her how to use the fork while he dug about roots with the spade and stirred the earth and let the air in. They were working industriously round one of the biggest standard roses when he caught sight of something which made him utter an exclamation of surprise.
"Why,"
he cried, pointing to the grass a few feet away,
"who did that there?"
It was one of Mary's own little clearings round the pale green points.
"I did it," said Mary.
Why, I thought thou didn't know nothing about gardening, he exclaimed.
"I don't," she answered, "but they were so little, and the grass was so thick and strong, and they looked as if they had no room to breathe, so I made a place for them. I don't even know what they are."
Dickon went and knelt down by them, smiling his wide smile.
"Thou was right," he said. "A gardener couldn't have told thee better. They'll grow now like Jack's beanstalk. They're crocuses and snowdrops, and these here is narcissuses," turning to another patch. "And here's daffodillies. They will be a sight."
He ran from one clearing to another.
"Thou's done a lot of work for such a little wench," he said, looking her over.
That cracks me up every time. In modern times, if somebody called me a wench, but apparently in 1911 it was like just a thing. All right, sorry.
"Thou's done a lot of work for such a little wench," he said, looking her over.
"I'm growing fatter," said Mary, "and I'm growing stronger. Used to always be tired. When I dig, I'm not tired at all. I like to smell the earth when it's turned up."
"It's rare good for thee," he said, nodding his head wisely. "There's not as nice as the smell of good clean earth, except the smell of fresh growing things when the rain falls on 'em. I get out on the moor many a day when it's raining, and I lie under a bush and listen to the soft swish of drops on the heather, and I just sniff and sniff. My nose end fair quivers like a rabbit's, Mother says."
"Do you never catch cold?" inquired Mary, gazing at him wonderingly. She had never seen such a funny boy or such a nice one.
"Not me," he said, grinning. "I never ketched cold since I was born. I wasn't brought up nish enough. I've chased about the moor in all weathers, same as the rabbits does. Mother says I've sniffed up too much fresh air for 12 years to ever get sniffing with cold. I'm as tough as a white thorn knobstick."
He was working all the time he was talking, and Mary followed him and Mary was following him and helping him with her fork or the trowel.
There's a lot of work to do here," he said once, looking about quite exultantly.
"Will you come again and help me to do it?" Mary begged. "I'm sure I can help, too. I can dig and pull up weeds and do whatever you tell me. Oh, do come, Dickon."
I'll come every day if thou wants me, rain or shine, he answered stoutly. It's the best fun I ever had in my life, shutting here and wakening up a garden. If you will come, said Mary, if you will help me to make it alive, I don't know what I'll do, she answered. She ended helplessly. What could you do for a boy like that? I'll tell thee what they'll do, said Dickon, with his happy grin. They'll get fat, and they'll get as hungry as a young fox, and they'll learn how to talk to the robin same as I do. We'll have a lot of fun. He began to walk about, looking up in the trees and at the walls and bushes with a thoughtful expression. I wouldn't want to make it look like a gardener's garden, all clipped and spick and span, would you? He said. It's nicer like this, with things running wild and swinging and catching hold of each other. Don't let us make it tidy, said Mary anxiously. It wouldn't seem like a secret garden if it was tidy. Dickon stood rubbing his rusty red head with a rather puzzled look. It's a secret garden, sure enough, he said, but seems like someone beside the robin must have been in it since it was shut up 10 years ago. But the door was locked and the key was buried, said Mary. No one could get in. That's true, he answered. It's a queer place. Seems to me as if there'd been a bit of pruning done here and there later than 10 years ago. But how could it have been done? Said Mary. He was examining a branch of a standard rose, and he shook his head. How could it? He murmured, with the door locked and the key buried. Mistress Mary always felt that however many years she lived, she should never forget that first morning when her garden began to grow. Of course, it did seem to begin to grow for her that morning. When Dickon began to clear places to plant seeds, she remembered what Basil had sung at her when he wanted to tease her. Who is Basil? Am I forgetting someone? Let me read that again. When Dickon began to clear places to plant seeds, she remembered what Basil had sung at her when he wanted to tease her. Are there any flowers that look like bells? She inquired. Lilies of the valley does, he answered, digging away with the trowel. And there's Canterbury bells and campanulas. Let's plant some, said Mary. There's lily of the valley here already. I saw 'em. They'll have growed too close and we'll have to separate 'em, but there's plenty. The other ones takes 2 years to bloom from seed, but I can bring you some bits of plants from our cottage garden. Why do they want 'em? Why does the want them? Then Mary told him about Basil and his brothers and sisters in India, and how she had hated starting over. Then Mary told him about Basil and his brothers and sisters in India, and of how she had hated them, and of their calling her Mistress Mary quite contrary. They used to dance round and sing at me. They sang, Mistress Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow, with silver bells and cockle shells and marigolds all in a row. I just remembered it, and it made me wonder if there were really flowers like silver bells. She frowned a little and gave her trowel a rather spiteful dig into the earth. I can do that better. She frowned a little and gave her trowel a rather spiteful dig into the earth. I wasn't as contrary as they were. But Dickon laughed, he said, as he crumbled the rich black soil, she saw he was sniffing up the scent of it. There doesn't seem to be no need for no one to be contrary when there's flowers and such like, and such lots of friendly wild things running about making homes for themselves, or building nests and singing and whistling, does there? Mary, kneeling by him holding the seeds, looked at him and stopped frowning. Dickon, she said, you are as nice as Martha said you were. I like you, and you make the 5th person. I never thought I should like 5 people. Dickon sat up on his heels as Martha did when she was polishing the grate. He did look funny and delightful, Mary thought, with his round blue eyes and red cheeks and happy-looking turned-up nose. "Only 5 folks as thou likes," he said. "Who's the other 4? "Your mother and Martha," Mary checked them off on her fingers, "and the robin and Ben Weatherstaff." Dickon laughed so that he was obliged to stifle the sound by putting his arm over his mouth. "I know thou thinks I'm a queer lad," he said, "but I think thou'rt the queerest little lass I ever saw." Then Mary did a strange thing. She leaned forward and asked him a question she had never dreamed of asking anyone before, and she tried to ask it in Yorkshire, because that was his language, and in India a native was always pleased if you knew his speech. "Does thou like me?" she said. He answered heartily, "That I does. I likes thee wonderful, and so does the robin, I do believe." "That's 2 then," said Mary. "That's 2 for me." And then they began to work harder than ever and more joyfully. Mary was startled and sorry when she heard the big clock in the courtyard strike the hour of her midday dinner. "I shall have to go," she said mournfully. "And you will have to go too, won't you?" Dickon grinned. "My dinner's easy to carry about with me," he said. Mother always lets me put a bit of something in my pocket." He picked up his coat from the grass and brought out of it. Starting over. He picked up from his coat. He picked up his coat from the grass and brought out of a pocket a lumpy little bundle tied up in a quite clean, coarse blue and white handkerchief. It held 2 thick pieces of bread with a slice of something laid between them. It's oftenest naught but bread," he said, "but I've got a fine slice of bacon with it today." Mary thought it looked a queer dinner, but he seemed ready to enjoy it. "Run on and get thy victuals," he said. "I'll be done with mine first. I'll get some more work done before I start back home." He sat down with his back against a tree. "I'll call the robin up," he said, "and give him the rind of the bacon to peck at. They likes a bit of fat wonderful." Mary could scarcely bear to leave him. Suddenly it seemed as if he might be a sort of wood fairy who might be gone when she came into the garden again. He seemed too good to be true. She went slowly halfway to the door in the wall, and then she stopped and went back. "Whatever happens, you never would tell," she said. His poppy-colored cheeks were distended with his first big bite of bread and bacon, but he managed to smile encouragingly. If thou was a missel thrush and showed me where thy nest was, does thou think I'd tell anyone? Not me," he said. "Thou'rt as safe as a missel thrush." And she was quite sure she was. That was chapter 11. And let's see, what time is it now? Glasses. It is 9:12. I don't remember what time I started this session. How long is chapter 12? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's pretty quick. And if I'm going for reading stamina as well as pacing and emotional authenticity, I should try to read chapter 12 today as well. So, bonus chapter. Here we go. Chapter 12. Might I have a bit of earth? Mary ran so fast that she was rather out of breath when she reached her room. Her hair was ruffled on her forehead, and her cheeks were bright pink. Her dinner was waiting on the table, and Martha was waiting near it. "Thou's a bit late," she said. "Where has thou been?" "I've seen Dickon," said Mary. "I've seen Dickon." "I knew he'd come," said Martha exultantly. "How does thou like him?" I think he's beautiful," said Mary in a determined voice. Martha looked rather taken aback, but she looked pleased too. "Well," she said, "he's the best lad as ever was born, but us never thought he was handsome. His nose turns up too much." "I like it to turn up," said Mary. "And his eyes is so round," said Martha, a trifle doubtful, though they're a nice colour. I like them round, said Mary, and they are exactly the colour of the sky over the moor. Martha beamed with satisfaction. Mother says he made him that colour, with always looking up at the birds in the clouds. But he has got a big mouth, hasn't he now? I love his big mouth, said Martha obstinately. I wish mine were just like it. Martha chuckled delightedly. It'd look rare and funny in thy bit of a face, she said, but I knowed it would be that way when they saw him. How did they like the seeds and the garden tools? How did you know he brought them? Asked Mary. I never thought of him not bringing 'em. He'd be sure to bring 'em if they was in Yorkshire. He's such a trusty lad. Mary was afraid that she might begin to ask difficult questions, but she did not. She was very much interested in the seeds and gardening tools, and there was only one moment when Mary was frightened. This was when she began to ask where the flowers were to be planted. Excuse me. Ooh. Who did they ask about it? She inquired. I haven't asked anyone yet. I haven't asked anybody yet, said Mary, hesitating. Well, I wouldn't ask the head gardener. He's too grand, Mr. Roach is. I've never seen him, said Mary. I've only seen under gardeners and Ben Weatherstaff. If I was you, I'd ask Ben Weatherstaff, advised Martha. He's not half as bad as he looks, for all he's so crabbed. Mr. Craven lets him do what he likes because he was here when Mrs. Cravens was alive, and he used to make her laugh. She liked him. Perhaps he'd find you a corner somewhere out of the way. If it was out of the way and no one wanted it, no one could mind my having it, could they? Said Mary anxiously. There wouldn't be no reason, answered Martha. You wouldn't do no harm. Mary ate her dinner as quickly as she could, and when she rose from the table she was going to run to her room to put on her hat again, but Martha stopped her. I've got something to tell you, she said. I thought I'd let you eat your dinner first. Mr. Craven came back this morning, and I think he wants to see you. Mary turned quite pale. Oh, she said. Why? He didn't want to see me when I came. I heard Pitcher say he didn't. Well, explained Martha, Mrs. Medlock says it's because of Mother. She was talking to Thwaite village and she met him. She never spoke to him before, but Mrs. Craven had been to our cottage 2 or 3 times. He'd forgotten, but Mother hadn't, and she made bold to stop him. I don't know what she said to him about you, but she said something as put him in the mind to see you before he goes away again, tomorrow. Oh, cried Mary, is he going away tomorrow? I'm so glad. I can do that better. Oh, cried Mary, is he going away tomorrow? I'm so glad. He's going for a long time. He mayn't come back till autumn or winter. He's going to travel in foreign places. He's always doing it. Oh, I'm so glad, said Mary thankfully. If he did not come back until winter or even autumn, there would be time to watch the secret garden come alive. Even if he found out then and took it away from her, she would have had that much at least. When do you think he will want to see... She did not finish the sentence because the door opened and Mrs. Medlock walked in. Excuse me, oh my goodness. A little bit of a dry tickle in my throat. She did not finish the sentence because the door opened and Mrs. Medlock walked in. She had on her best black dress and cap, and her collar was fastened with a large brooch with a picture of a man's face on it. It was a colored photograph of Mr. Medlock, who had died years ago, and she always wore it when she was dressed up. She looked nervous and excited. Your hair's rough, she said quickly. Go and brush it. Martha, help her to slip on her best dress. Mr. Craven sent me to bring her to him in his study." All the pink left Mary's cheeks. Her heart began to thump, and she felt herself changing into a stiff, plain, silent child again. She did not even answer Mrs. Medlock, but turned and walked into her bedroom, followed by Martha. She said nothing while her dress was changed and her hair brushed, and after she was quite tidy, she followed Mrs. Medlock down the corridors in silence. What was there for her to say? She was obliged to go and see Mr. Craven, and he would not like her, and she would not like him. She knew what he would think of her. She was taken to a part of the house she had not been into before. At last, Mrs. Medlock knocked at the door, and when someone said, "Come in," they entered the room together. A man was sitting in an armchair before the fire, and Mrs. Medlock spoke to him. This is Miss Mary, sir," she said. "You can go and leave her here. I will ring for you when I want you to take her away," said Mr. Craven. When she went out and closed the door, Mary could only stand waiting, a plain little thing, twisting her thin hands together. She could see that the man in the chair was not so much a hunchback as a man with high, rather crooked shoulders, and he had black hair streaked with white. He turned his head over his high shoulders and spoke to her. "Come here," he said. Mary went to him. He was not ugly. His face would have been handsome if it had not been so miserable. He looked as if the sight of her worried and fretted him, and as if he did not know what in the world to do with her. "Are you well?" he asked. "Yes," answered Mary. "Did they take good care of you?" "Yes." He rubbed his forehead fretfully as he looked her over. "You're very thin," he said. "I'm getting fatter," Mary answered in what she knew was her stiffest way. "I am getting fatter," Mary answered in what she knew was her stiffest way. What an unhappy face he had! His black eyes seemed as if they scarcely saw her, as if they were seeing something else, and he could hardly keep his thoughts upon her. "I forgot you," he said. "How could I remember you? I intended to send you a governess or a nurse or someone of that sort, but I forgot." "Please," began Mary, "please—" Then the lump in her throat choked her. "What do you want to say?" he inquired. I am too big for a nurse," said Mary, "and please don't make me have a governess yet." He rubbed his forehead again and stared at her. That was what the Sowerby woman said. That was what the Sowerby woman said, he muttered absent-mindedly. Then Mary gathered a scrap of courage. Is she Martha's mother?" she stammered. "Yes, I think so," he replied. "She knows about children," said Mary. "She has 12. She knows." He seemed to rouse himself. "What do you want to do?" "I want to play out of doors," Mary answered, hoping that her voice did not tremble. "I never liked it in India. It made me hungry here, and I'm getting fatter. Sorry, I can do that better. I never liked it in India. It made me hungry here, and I'm getting fatter." He was watching her. Mrs. Sowerby said it would... Mrs. Sowerby said it would do you good. "Perhaps it will," he said. "She thought you had better get stronger before you had a governess." "It makes me feel strong when I play and the wind comes over the moor," argued Mary. "Where do you play?" he asked next. "Everywhere," gasped Mary. "Martha's mother sent me a skipping rope." Wow. "Everywhere," gasped Mary. "Martha's mother sent me a skipping rope. I skip and run, and I look about to see if things are beginning to stick up out of the earth. I don't do any harm." "Don't look so frightened," he said in a worried voice. You could not do any harm, a child like you. You may do what you like." Mary put her hand up to her throat because she was afraid he might see the excited lump which she felt jump into it. Let's try that again. Mary put a hand up to her throat because she was afraid he might see the excited lump which she felt jump into it. She came a step nearer to him. "May I?" she said tremulously. Her anxious little face seemed to worry him more than ever. "Don't look so frightened," he exclaimed. "Of course you may. I'm your guardian, though I'm a poor one for any child. I cannot give you time or attention. I'm too ill and wretched and distracted. But I wish you to be happy and comfortable. I don't know anything about children, but Mrs. Medlock is to see that you have all you need. I sent for you today because Mrs. Sowerby said I ought to see you. Her daughter had talked about you. She thought you needed fresh air and freedom and running about." "She knows all about children," said Mary again, in spite of herself. "She ought to," said Mr. Craven. "I thought her rather bold to stop me on the moor, but she said Mrs. Craven had been kind to her." I don't think I read that right. "I thought her rather bold to stop me on the moor, but she said Mrs. Craven had been kind to her." It seemed hard for him to speak his dead wife's name. "She's a respectable woman. Now I've seen you, I think she said sensible things. Play out of doors as much as you like. It's a big place, and you may go where you like and amuse yourself as you like. Is there anything you want?" As if a sudden thought had struck him. "Do you want toys, books, dolls?" "Might I," quavered Mary, "might I have a bit of earth?" In her eagerness, she did not realize how queer the words would sound, and that they were not the ones she had meant to say. Mr. Craven looked quite startled. "Earth?" he repeated. "What do you mean?" "To plant seeds in, to make things grow, to see them come alive," Mary faltered. He gazed at her a moment, and then passed his hand quickly over his eyes. "Do you care about gardens so much?" he said slowly. "I didn't know about them in India," said Mary. "I was always ill and tired, and it was too hot. I sometimes made little beds in the sand and stuck flowers in them, but here it is different." Mr. Craven got up and began to walk slowly across the room. "A bit of earth," he said to himself, and Mary thought that somehow she must have reminded him of something. When he stopped and spoke to her, his dark eyes looked almost soft and kind. "You can have as much earth as you want," he said. "You remind me of someone else who loved the earth and things that grow. When you see a bit of earth you want," with something like a smile, "take it, child, and make it come alive." "May I take it from anywhere, if it's not wanted?" "Anywhere," he answered. "There, you must go now, and I am tired." "Anywhere," he answered. "There, you must go now. I am tired." He touched the bell to call Mrs. Medlock. "Goodbye. I shall be away all summer." Mrs. Medlock came so quickly that Mary thought she must have been waiting out in the corridor. Mrs. Medlock came so quickly that Mary thought she must have been waiting in the corridor. "Mrs. Medlock," Mr. Craven said to her, "now I've seen the child, I understand what Mrs. Sowerby meant. She must be less delicate before she begins lessons. Give her simple, healthy food. Let her run wild in the garden. Don't look after her too much. She needs liberty and fresh air and romping about. Mrs. Sowerby is to come and see her now and then, and she may sometimes go to the cottage." Mrs. Medlock looked pleased. She was relieved to hear that she need not look after Mary too much. She had felt her a tiresome charge, and had indeed seen as little of her as she dared. In addition to this, she was fond of Martha's mother. "Thank you, sir," she said. "Susan Sowerby and me went to school together, and she's as sensible and good-hearted a woman as you'd—" Let's try that again. "Thank you, sir," she said. "Susan Sowerby and me went to school together, and she's as sensible and good-hearted a woman as you'd find in a day's walk. I never had any children myself, and she's had 12, and there never was healthier or better ones. Miss Mary can get no harm from them. I'd always take Susan Sorby's advice about children myself. She's what you might call healthy-minded, if you understand me." "I understand," Mr. Craven answered. "Take Miss Mary away now, and send Pitcher to me." "Take Miss Mary away now, and send Pitcher to me." When Mrs. Medlock left her at the end of her own corridor, Mary flew back to her room. She found Martha waiting there. Martha had, in fact, hurried back after she had removed the dinner service. "I can have my garden!" cried Mary. "I may have it where I like. I'm not going to have a governess for a long time. Your mother's coming to see me, and I may go to your cottage. He says a little girl like me could not do any harm, and I may do what I like, anywhere." "Eh," said Martha delightedly. "That was nice of him, wasn't it?" "Martha," said Mary solemnly, "he really is a nice man, only his face is so miserable, and his forehead is all drawn together." She ran as quickly as she could to the garden. She had been away so much longer than she had thought she would, and she knew Dickon would have to set out early on his 5-mile walk. When she slipped through the door under the ivy, she saw he was not working where she had left him. The gardening tools were laid together under a tree. She ran to them, looking all round the place, but there was no Dickon to be seen. He had gone away, and the secret garden was empty, except for the robin, who had just flown across the wall and sat on a standard rose bush watching her. "He's gone," she said woefully. "Oh, was he only a wood fairy?" Something white fastened to the standard rose bush caught her eye. It was a piece of paper, in fact. It was a piece of the letter she had printed for Martha to send to Dickon. It was fastened on the bush with a long thorn, and in a minute she knew Dickon had left it there. There were some roughly printed letters on it and a sort of picture. At first she could not tell what it was. Then she saw it was meant for a nest with a bird sitting on it. Underneath were the printed letters, and they said, "I will come back." All right, that was chapter 12. So 2 chapters today on day 12 of my 30-day project. And I do feel like in my throat that my voice is starting to strain a little, which is a bit disconcerting because that was only 2 chapters. And I know that people who narrate audiobooks, they will often have like 2-3 hour sessions of reading every day. So I got to work on this, got to build up my stamina. I'm also not sure how well I did with pacing or with evoking the emotions of the characters in the scene, but I will, as usual, listen back to it and analyze things and try to apply whatever I hear to my next session. So that is it for today. Day 12, over and done. Thank you so much. Let me know what you thought. All right. Oh, and hopefully this recording, the audio will come through all right. OBS was recording in stereo before, but I think I have fixed it. Fingers crossed. We shall see.